Yes, you can start.
Good afternoon. We begin the afternoon session now. We have with us Dr. Usha Alagappan, reference librarian, American Center Library. Dr. Usha joined the American Library for a second time in April 2012 as a reference outreach librarian. She worked earlier as a reference librarian in the American Information Resource Center between 2001 and 2008. She was production manager of Liquid Studios, Bangalore, and librarian at Tube Investments of India, MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, and was technical assistant in Women's Christian College. She was trained in the Central Library at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. She holds a master's degree in Library and Information Science and Business Administration from University of Madras and Indira Gandhi Open University. I now request Dr. Usha Alagappan, Reference Librarian, American Center Library, to share her expertise on materials collection for research. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vinita. Could you please make me as a co-host?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I would like to first thank Dr. Uma Mageshwari, the principal, Queen Mary's College, Dr. Bashir Ahmed, principal and head of the English department. I also would like to acknowledge Dr. Meghala Rajan, Dr. Anwar, Dr. Anuja, Dr. Sivaraman, and Dr. Rufus, and other keynote speakers. And I would like to thank the students also. Let me share my screen.
ரொம்ப ஸ்லோவா எழுதுறீங்க ஃபாஸ்டா எழுதுங்க இது அப்பப்ப ஆஃப் ஆயிட்டே இருக்கா இங்க எழுதிட்டே இருக்கு
Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself and then.
Okay. Now, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Fine, ma'am.
Okay. Did you hear me the first time I spoke?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's clear. In between, it was muted.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Maria Preeti for inviting me to this forum and for an excellent introduction by Dr. Vinita. First, let me put the record straight. I'm not doctor. I'm just plain Miss Usha. I'm going to share my screen. Dr. Vinita, can you please make me co-host? I think I know from the morning we have some technical difficulties.
Sorry about that, ma'am.
No, I also have to apologize because in the morning when I just started, the internet went down for us and we had to rectify.
Your co-host now, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. We had excellent presentations in the morning by Dr. Anwar and Dr. Anuja. They set the ball rolling. Now, today I'm going to introduce about the material collection at the American Center. So what we are going to do is, what we do at the American Center is we provide accurate and current information on contemporary American policies and society, international relations, the US economy, and global issues. Anything to do with America, we provide information. So if you're looking for something Indian, British, or Canadian, You may not find the primary resources, but of course, we do have lots of secondary resources in the form of CLC, TCLC, as well as online databases. So today I'm going to showcase you the online databases. But before that, I'm going to briefly show a few slides so that you know what we have in our center. So let me start. This is the American Center, the circulation counter. Right now, I'm sitting at the American Center, and the center is closed to the public due to the pandemic from March 2020 onwards. We are still yet to open. So this is the video kiosk. I think I can show you a small, brief video about the center. Are you able to see the YouTube?
We can see your PowerPoint, ma'am. There's a link there.
Okay, so you're unable to see the video. Never mind. It is there in our website. So you can go have a look at the short video about the center. And we not only have books, we do lots of programs, and all our programs are free. So we conduct free workshops, quiz events, film screenings, music programs, and panel discussions. So this is a platform to connect the South Indians with the Americans of common interest. So what do we have in our center? We have more than 15,000 books, and we are very strong in American literature. And we also have some 36 journals and a few online databases. We have number of documentaries and films. We have like classics, Old Man and the Sea, Death of a Salesman. We have many movies from print to screen. And we have the latest ones, not the very latest ones, the recent ones like Help, Divergent, Hunger Games, those kind of movies also we have. Fault in the Stars, all this we have in our collection. These are the subjects that we deal. So you can see we don't have much of science and technology. We concentrate on humanities and social science. This is our online catalog. Our website address is given down. So through the online catalog, you will be able to see what books the Chennai Center has. We also have 3 more centers, that is in New Delhi, Mumbai, and Kolkata. You can also see the books that are available in that center. As a member of our library, you are eligible to borrow books from the other centers also. Suppose the book is not available, we will procure the book from the other center, and we will send to your address if you are not in Chennai. But if you are in Chennai, you can come and collect the book. Right now, we do send books to the patrons, like to the members, because we are closed, whether it is Chennai or non-Chennai, we are sending books to the members. This catalog not only shows the books, but also the articles. So if you are searching on a specific subject, then you will find the books that are available in our center, plus the articles written by many, whether it is American or non-American. And based on the bibliographical details, if you send the bibliographical details of the articles, then we will send the full text of articles to your email ID. So that is possible. So this catalog will not only show the books, but also the articles. These are the commercial online databases that we have in our library. So eLibrary USA, all these databases, you need to come to the center to access them. But the centers right now is closed. So what we can do is send an email. We will share the email ID at the end of the program. You can send an email. We will send you the full text of the articles to your address. As you can see, we have Jstor, dissertations and thesis. And this canopy has number of documentaries, which you can see from the Center. And we have in Ebscohost, we have Literary Reference Center Plus, which is very useful to you. And we also have Proquest Research Library. We also have children's collection, and we recently inaugurated S. Muthaya collection. Then we have a Tamil collection. That Tamil collection also has books only written by American authors on America. So it is a translation, or it is about an American author. So in eLibrary USA, we do have this following databases: Academic One File, Jstor, which I will showcase to you. And we also have a press reader, which will have 3 months newspaper that are published all over the world. So it has more than 400 newspapers. If someone is doing a project or something on newspaper clippings and all that, or then you can write to us. We have access to historical newspapers from 1850 onwards. This is how the Proquest Research Library looks, but I'm going to show you the database, and this is how the Ebscohost looks. Our membership is only 400 rupees for a year and 700 rupees for 2 years. And individuals below the age of 15, it is only 200 for a year. And the institutions also can become a member. What you can do with the membership is you can borrow 4 books and 2 back issues of magazines for a period of 4 weeks. Whereas institutions, you can borrow 20 books, 10 back issues of journals, plus 5 documentaries. And we have the New Delhi Embassy publishes the SPAN magazine, which will become free to the institutions. So you can see the auditorium, which has a seating capacity of 180. We screen lots of movies to the students here. Before we used to screen movies on Saturdays. These days we don't work on Saturdays. So we stopped screening, but we have some special screenings on during the weekdays. And we send an invite to the members. And it is also advertised through our Facebook. So these are the services available. We have interlibrary loan, membership. We cover all the South Indian states, that is Tamil Nadu, not Andhra Pradesh. So we have only Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, Kerala and Karnataka. And photocopying, we charge 1 rupee per exposure. These are some of the programs that we recently did. You can see English language workshop for teachers. We do it for the students also, communication skills workshop for the students. This is the most important thing when we reopen our building, that you should bring a valid photo ID card to enter the building. If you're a student, your college or university ID card is sufficient. If you're a teacher, also the school and college card is sufficient. Otherwise, an original driver's license, passport, PAN card, Aadhaar card you should bring. And you should deposit your mobiles at the security. Once you're going back, you can pick up your mobiles. You cannot bring your mobile inside, and please do not bring any laptop or a tab or a iPad, because we don't have any storage space to deposit the laptop or the tab. These are our contact details. So please remember, once we reopen, you are welcome to visit our center. Our center timings are between 9:30 and 5. And you can send an email to us. Let me show you the online databases. Okay, this is the Ebscohost database. This is the Literary Reference Center. So can somebody type or can somebody tell me what subject you want me to search? Since you're all research scholars, you can just check what you're working on. You can unmute and tell. Please don't feel shy. You don't have any.
Someone has texted Ralph Waldo Emerson books.
Okay, thank you. So we'll search for Emerson. You can check the Indian authors too. See, for Ralph Waldo Emerson, we have more than 3072 articles. It is very simple. You can just, if you want to click and see what this is, you can check. This is just a biography. If you think this is useful to you, you can add to the folder. So once you select, it will be in yellow color. You can keep selecting, going through this. Now this is an article. Let me click article. And this is a book chapter. This is a 23 page and you can see the bibliographical details. So choose what you want. On a day, you can send only 50 articles. So please choose. You have lots and lots of articles, but please choose and send. Once you choose, go to the folder, click this, and you can email to your ID. It's very simple. Please make use of these databases. I know there are lots of open source material available. Sometimes you find articles in Jstor which are available online. You can make use of them, but these are paid databases and you should make use of these databases. So just type your email ID and send, and you can finish whatever you are looking for. Do you want to check any other topic?
I need to unmute them, I think.
Okay.
They can type in the chat box.
Yeah, and you can check and tell me, Dr. Preeti.
Dorothy Clark Wilson, they've asked.
Dorothy
Clark Wilson.
Could you please spell it out?
Dorothy, D-O-R-O-T-H-Y, C-L-A-R-K-E, Clark.
Okay.
Wilson.
Wilson. Okay. And always select the full text. Also search within full text. Okay. Is this the right one? I'm seeing.
You can unmute. I have allowed you to unmute yourselves.
I can't see any Dorothy Clark Wilson. Okay, any other topic?
Hi, ma'am.
Yes.
Do you have any works on, criticism based on contemporary Australian fiction?
Any specific author, ma?
Megan Golden novels.
Megan.
Should I spell it to you?
Yeah, please do.
M-E-G-A-N space G-O-L-D-I-N.
Okay.
She's an Australian writer.
Okay. Today internet is little slow. Please bear with me.
No issues, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
So,
see some
yeah,
of the files.
but we can see only book reviews. I couldn't see any critical material. There is a 3/4 page article, but this must be another book review.
Okay.
No, I don't see. Most of them are book reviews.
Okay.
We can check in another database.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other topic you want to see? You can also see
Thank you,
the
ma'am.
literary terms, literary theory, all this you can see. Not only authors.
The chat box, they've typed some questions, ma'am.
What
Ma'am,
is
do you have secondary sources for disability studies?
Yes, we do have. And, though I haven't told you this database that is Project News, only the staff has access to Project News, and you'll find lots and lots of articles there. And we have disability studies. I know I have sent some articles to one of the research scholar. So I just typed postmodernism and we are getting something. Now let me see disability studies. Project Muse is another very good database. Okay, you have on disability. Early American Disability Studies. It is a 27-page article. Postmodern turn in disability studies. Yes, you do have articles. Shall I move to the next database? Okay, let me go to the next database. Okay, here we do have the most important Proquest dissertations and thesis. This is a very good database, and not many institutions have access to this. So you have to visit this. We will not be able to send the full text of dissertation because of the copyright regulation. So you need to visit the center, and we allow you to print the relevant pages. That is only 30 to 40 pages in each dissertation, and we charge 3 rupees per page for printing. Okay, now let me show you the same things that we searched in the other database, Emerson. So we found more than 100,000 dissertations on Emerson. I will just open one and show you the dissertation. It's just a sample. So you can see it is a MA dissertation. So this will not be up to your level. So you should be looking for PhD dissertations. So if you want a few pages in this dissertation, you can print them. This is how it works. Let me show the same topics that we searched in the other database, disability study. Okay. Okay, disability studies. See, you have so much on disability studies. And let me show you Marla Runyan. Okay, we're not seeing Marla Runyan. What you can do is, you can put this in quotes, even in Google search. If you put this in quotes, it will just pick up Marla Runyan, not just Runyan. So we are getting 4 dissertations. Are these the ones you're looking for? I am not very sure. Bhuvanesh Kumar. I'm not sure about this. Okay. Do you have secondary resource? So, somebody asked on Golden. What Golden is that?
That's Megan Golden, ma'am.
Megan Golden. Okay, we are getting 169. I'm not very sure this is the same thing you're looking for. Let's put it in quotes.
It's MEGAN.
Okay. Sorry for the typo.
No problem.
That's why I asked for the spelling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct, ma'am.
Okay. No, we are not getting any Megan Golden. Okay, so no dissertation on Megan Golden. Australian. No, this is not the one. Okay, next, Boris Fishman. Khadija, is this the one you're looking for? I don't know what topic Boris Fishman writes.
Yes, ma'am. Boris Fishman's a replacement life.
Replacement life. So I'm using the Boolean operator and replacement life.
It's a novel written by him.
Okay. Okay, I don't think we have. No. Okay, Mallaronian. Anything else on critical life of pi? Okay. Are you able to see my Ebscohost database? Okay, life of pi. I don't find any dissertation. No, not much of on life of pi in the other database. Yes, Malini, please tell me what you require.
On pandemic fiction.
Pandemic fiction. I should check in the other database also. There is one dissertation.
Okay.
You can see epidemic geographies in 20th century American literature and culture. This is one dissertation on pandemic fiction. Or we can just remove fiction and we can type just pandemic and see. We do have lots, but this may not be in literature.
Related with the literature.
You can have a look. See, we have lots on pandemic, but not in literature. Only one dissertation. Okay. Does anyone want anything else? Or I'll move to the next database. Okay, then I will go to Proquest Research Library. Are you able to see the Proquest Research Library? Okay. So we'll see pandemic fiction here. Limit your results to full text. So on pandemic fiction, you have lots and lots of articles. So let's go to the scholarly journals here. You have 1,300 scholarly articles, and it's very simple. You can show the abstract. Just go through the abstract. If you think this is useful to you, select it. You can keep selecting. Okay, medium fiction. Okay, I'm just choosing 2 articles. Then finally, you have the folder here and you can email to your ID. It's very simple. Again, in this database, you can email only 50 articles. So please choose and email that. Just type your email ID, your name, and press continue. Before continue, you have to type this and then continue, and you will be able to email the articles. Okay, we have 2 more. Alan Winsberg. Okay, so you are particularly looking on Alan Winsberg. W-E-I-S-B-E-R-G. Okay, Alan Winsberg, you have only 5. Perhaps you should check in other database also. Maori people. This is a article database. We just saw the Proquest dissertations and thesis. Now we are looking at the Proquest Research Library. So you'll find full text of articles, and many of them are peer-reviewed articles. So the next one is Maori. Okay. Okay, you have New Zealand also. So let's say Australia. Okay. You have 1,100 articles. So go to the scholarly journals. But these are not something, okay. Migration. Shabita, are you looking for these articles? Okay. What is the next one? Okay, let's see Malla Runyan. We have couple of articles on Marla Runyan. Okay, that can be mailed, but we didn't find in any other database. Okay, let me show the next database, Jstor. We'll see disability studies. So you have lots of articles here also, disability studies. This is not a very user-friendly database like EBSCO and the Proquest. You need to download them, open your email and send it. But what happens at the American Center, you will not be able to open your email. So you can let the staff know, we will email those articles. Just put it in a folder and we will email them when you visit the American Center. But you can always write to us. I will just type our email ID. You can make note of it and you can write to us. Chennai amcenter@state.gov. This is our email ID. So please write to us. We will be happy to email the articles to you, the full text of articles. But if you think we have more resources, I would encourage you to become a member of our library. Okay, let me show what are the other topics. Megan Golden. No, we are not getting Megan Golden here. So the next topic is okay. Yeah, we do have on Eric Wehenmeyer, just 2 articles. Then Maori people. If you're not getting, then we need to use a different keyword search. Yeah, we do have some articles. You can download and email them. Anything else you would like to see? Are there any questions for me? Are there any questions for me? Then thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Usha, for an insightful session and for giving our students a hands-on experience about the facilities available at American Center Library. I'm sure many more research scholars will approach you in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Usha.
Thank you, Usha.
Thank you.
That's from me, Preeti. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thanks for the opportunity to interact with your students.
Since we are always welcome at the library, you're always welcome to speak to our students.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next program, we have Dr. Shivraman, Associate Professor of English, Presidency College with us. Sir has 16 years of college teaching, preceded by 4 years of school teaching in both private and government schools. His area of specialization is Indian drama in English, education, and assistive technology for persons with visual impairment. He has served as a subject expert on the Board of Studies, Stella Maris College, Chennai. He was appointed by the SCRT as textbook author for the preparation of communicative English for higher secondary classes. He has guided 8 MPhil and 1 PhD student and is currently guiding 6 PhD scholars. He has received the NAB Award from the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu for the service to the education of the visually challenged community. He has served as a panelist for Tata Consulting Services to recruit persons with visual impairment for the post of soft skill trainer. He is serving as the coordinator of the Arunodaya Presidency College Resource Center for the Differently Able and has converted more than 30,000 books into accessible as well as audio formats. I now request Dr. Shivraman, Associate Professor of English, Presidency College, to share his expert comments with the research scholars. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My sincere apologies for not being able to join this morning because I was on college campus, and our college campus is an impenetrable fortress in every sense. So that's why we are not able to get the connectivity. I tried hard, so I couldn't send. Beyond 10 o'clock, I had classes as well. So that's why I just could not join you this morning. So at the outset, I thank Dr. Maria Preeti ma'am, Associate Professor and Head, Department of English, Queen Mary's College. I also thank Vinita Francis, who's coordinating the entire session meticulously since morning. I also would like to thank Madras Christian College, New College, and even our own MPhil and research scholars who joined this workshop. I think this is the 4th session. We'll make it into a sort of a question answer session. I will just spend about 10 to 15 minutes on, I'll share with you my own experience on the preparation of research proposal, because every supervisor now wants the candidates to come out with a research proposal. And the candidates are also frantically searching for a topic just 1 or 2 months before they register for PhD. So this is to acquaint you with certain guidelines. That's all. They are not. There's nothing. There's no hard and fast rule as such. So this is just to acquaint you with certain guidelines. And I will also share with you the areas of research which are now viable, which are now in trend, currently in trend. So, I would like to share with you those the areas as well. And then Professor Anwar Sadat must have already spoken to you about academic writing. And my own research scholar, Anuja, in fact, I was traveling. I couldn't listen to much of her presentation. Only the last 15 minutes, I could listen to her presentation in the 2nd session. She must have spoken to you about research ethics. In fact, the University of Madras, as per the UGC guidelines, latest UGC guidelines, has made research ethics that coursework very compulsory for everyone from 2020 onwards. And in the third session, Usha Alagappan ma'am has shared with you the resources, their facilities available at the USIS. So how do I begin, right? So Preeti ma'am had already forwarded 2 proposals written by the MPhil scholars for the dissertation. I'm not going to comment on these 2 proposals alone. So I'm going to place before you certain observations about the preparation of research proposal. And these observations are merely based on my experience. So I have been guiding students for the past 6 or 7 years. So my experience with the research scholars, and I also would like to pinpoint certain mistakes which the researchers usually make. Of course, we have to begin with mistakes. If we don't mistakes, we are not researchers at all. So that's why let me place before you certain observations. Number 1, these are all practically based. So people give practical advice to students. Whenever you choose a topic, try to choose a topic for which the secondary source materials are available in plenty. This is one such advice given to the students. So that's why most of the students, of course, go in for the text for which the materials are available in plenty. So the problem with this approach, with this so-called pragmatic approach, is it leads to duplication. That's why in many of the Viva Voce examinations, right, people get really fed up with the presentation. Once they approach, especially in humanities and in sciences also, the same duplication happens. So if you merely go by this so-called practical advice, you will never be able to pursue research. I'm not talking about high standard, I'm only talking about the basic required standard. Right, so if you merely go in for the topic for which the secondary sources are available in plenty, you will never be able to pursue the research. Then what do we do? The second one approach that people often follow is, if it is humanities, especially literature, try to choose theories. Right, this is the second important one. Try to land on some theoretical frameworks. There are quite a few theories available, and right from our UG final year, not merely PG now, right from our UG final year, the university has also made theory papers compulsory. So people merely get some nodding acquaintance with theories. So what do they try to do? The advice given to these researchers at the initial stage is try to choose 2 or 3 or maximum 5 texts and look for the scope to apply the theories to these texts. This is a second approach that people often follow, and even it is more often an advice given to the research scholars. So they try to go in for the text so as to interpret them in light of those theories. So this is the second approach. There is a problem with this approach, and we face it now. The first and the foremost problem, of course, is we come out with certain generalizations which are pretty much based on the theoretical framework. If it is feminism, I'm merely saying, I'm not finding fault with the theoretical framework of feminism, but they merely keep certain generalizations as ready-made conclusions and they try to impose it on the text. This is what happens in many researches. If it is feminism, then they have patriarchy as the buzzword, and then gynotext as the buzzword. And you know, the NET syllabus also makes it mandatory for students, you know, to get acquainted with these terms, not merely concepts, merely with these terms. That's how people learn it, because it's objective type. So people merely go in for these factual details without knowing the concepts. So the same thing, you can see the same kind of reflection result even when they pursue their research. So they come out with certain generalizations. They proceed from, of course, theory to text, which is once again a problem, because these conclusions are already there. They are ready-made conclusions, and you try to impose them on the text. So even without reading the text, even without making a close scrutiny of the text, you just come out with certain so-called, how do you call them, findings. They are no longer findings, right? When I say new finding, because Anuja in her last part of her presentation made a note of what is called new findings in your research. So what are the new findings? New finding, you should not approach it, of course, in its scientific sense. What is it that I have said altogether new? No, it's not that. You come out with recognition of certain patterns which have hitherto not been noticed by people, right? The patterns that derive or that emanate from the text you have chosen. That's very important. What are the patterns? I'll give you certain examples from the thesis that I have done, or from the thesis which my candidate has recently defended so successfully. So I'll try to come out with certain examples. Maybe in the question answer session, I can give those examples. So the second one, that's why I said I would like to place before you certain observations. Based on these observations, you can put your questions. So this is the second one. So people proceed from theory to text, and when they proceed from theory to text, they merely impose certain generalizations on the text. And once again, that defeats the very purpose of research. Then the third important observation, it's a mere thematic study. So as I said in the second point, in the second observation, if you don't want us to proceed or analyze the text with theories, then what you want us to confine ourselves only to the text? Well, okay, we will confine ourselves to text and make a thematic study, or we'll confine ourselves to the text to make a study of the genre to which that particular text belongs. For example, you choose authors like Anita Desai, or you choose authors like Ruskin Bond, right? Or you choose certain authors and you make a thematic study of the select novels. That's the mistake which many researchers do. I'm going to go in for this. When you do a thematic study, you are merely coming out with a summary. It is a glorified summary, that's all. And what is the insight that are you able to place the text in the larger context, right? So that's a very, that is conspicuously missing, absent, of course, in these researches. So in the name of making a close scrutiny of text, people merely come out with thematic study, which is also which also defeats the very purpose of research. That's the third one. And the fourth important one, people often say, don't go in for old book texts. Try to go in for the recent text, so much so that they can have the contemporary relevance. In very many public Viva Voce examinations, you find audience putting this question very glibly, casually they put the question. What is the contemporary relevance of your thesis? Okay, so that's a problem once again. So what is the contemporary? For example, in one of the proposals, now it has become a fashion to talk about pandemics. I'm not saying that you should not talk about pandemic, but if you merely go by the fashion or merely by the current topic, you are no more than a news reporter. You are no more than a press reporter who merely looks for some sensation. So you cannot go in for such sensation in pursuing your research, right? It should actually stem from your own interest, right? Now people talk about pandemic everywhere, so let me go in search of those books, which maybe if it is your interest, you can take it up. But if you merely take it up for the sake of fashion and under the garb of what is called this contemporary relevance, then it will never serve the purpose of true research. So these are certain observations. And how do we prepare the proposal? How do we take the topic, choose the topic for research? See, these are certain guidelines. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, that they should be looked upon as gospel truth. No. Number one, when you want to pursue research, the first guideline that I would give to the present day student is to choose the text. Go in for the primary text first, right? Never proceed from certain generalizations. There are certain generalizations, and I have received more than 100 research proposals so far in the last 6 to 7 years of my my days as research supervisor. I have received more than 100 research proposals. So out of 100 proposals, I would say 80 to 85 proposals are merely based on certain generalizations, right? So they proceed from some theory, the feminist theory, cultural theory, reader response criticism, something like that, or they proceed from that, and then they try to fix certain texts in the light of these things. So it's a forcible comparison. It's the second observation. That's what I'm saying. So proceed from the text. You can respond to theory if you think it is necessary, and then when you respond to theory, you will end up adding a new dimension to the theory. It is possible. So proceed from the text to the theory is the first guideline that I would provide you with. The second guideline, because it's time, it's almost, it is 2:37. So I'll go up to 2:45, and then from 2:45 onwards, for the next 15 or 20 minutes, we can take up questions. So what was I saying? Yeah, proceed from, when you proceed from the text to theory, right? Or to any other understanding. It should emanate, of course, from your study of the text. That's very important. So the second one, you can decide on certain areas which have hitherto not been explored, even in the field of literature. That's what I'm saying. So what are the areas? I can give, because they are all based on the proposals that I have received. That's why I said I'm going to give examples from my own experience. So I may even quote some of the topics which my own students have taken up actually for their research. So when it was in 2016 that one student came out with the topic on the study of cartoon. We always, I call it cartoon because he wanted to work on the comics, the cartoon, the comics and all that. So how can that be a study here? People often come out with even film studies these days. They work on films and they look upon film as a text. That's, see, I'm not against all that. But when you try to work on films as text, right, invariably those films, of course, are based on novels or are based on some other works, literary works. So what do? Instead of reading the text, they merely watch the film and come to the conclusion they have read the text. So that is a misconception. No, there's some problem. Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
sir, you're audible.
Thank you. There's some disturbance from my side. Yeah. There's some disturbance from my side. Yeah. So they mistake the film for the text. So they should, of course, make a reading. And this he came out with a study of comics. So that's a very good topic, I said. He worked on the Japanese manga, and he also had the temptation, of course, to apply theory at the beginning. So I'm going to come out with post-feminism, he said. Right? I said, what is post-feminism and why do you have to harp on post-feminism? Then he started highlighting all the comics, the manga, which is very popular in Japan, and he started coming out with his own insight, right? And that's how he arrived at the multimedia approach as a tool. And in fact, when he came out with post-feminism, right, I did not accept it, nor did I merely tell him not to do it, but I merely forced him to reflect on the study of the comics, the study of manga. As he did it about, he came out with a different dimension. Right? And the second one, the one that I talked about, that I just highlighted, merely emanated from the discussion that we had on manga. So that's how. And then this is area. That's what I'm saying. Comics is my area. I'm going to do that. And how one tries to, and then one more student, he also worked on the graphic novels. So that is also the area, the genre. You can proceed from the genre, provided you have knowledge of that genre based on the reading of at least, right, 5 or 6 novels belonging to that particular genre. So if you're interested in that genre, how one student, of course, he came out with graphic novels. And he said, I'm going to connect it with Holocaust writing because most of the graphic novels that he had read are based on Holocaust writings, which had its own political implication. And he came out with the findings that this graphic novel, and that too, when it happens in the field of Holocaust writing, they try to do it for a commercial purpose, which is a very, very good insight actually. The Holocaust writing, because you have more than 2-3 generations of Holocaust writers. Holocaust, the thing happened historically in the 1940s. And now you find the second and the third generation of Holocaust writers resorting to what is called this graphic novel, merely for the sake of commercialization. So that is a kind of an insight that he came out with. He never applied any theory. He never proceeded from any theory as such. And same is the case with prison writing. I just suggested prison writing in literature has not been pursued as a genre at all in any research. Maybe they have done it in the West. Whereas in the Indian context, of course, they have not done prison writing as a genre study at all. And there also, I've advised him to pursue only from the choice of primary texts. What are the texts that you are going to choose? And from the text, you move on to the larger context. What I mean is the genre. Who are all the people who have actually written in present writing? And there was no material available to begin with, actually. When we began our research on Indian writing, on present writing in Indian context, there was virtually nothing. But as he started exploring the text, as he started exploring the present writing in Indian context, of course, he could come out with so many books. Right? So these are all certain examples. That's why they are all based on the experience that my own candidates have had, and they have shared, of course, with me certain experiences. And if you put any question to us, of course, to me, I think I'll be able to answer your questions. So that's why the second guideline that I can provide you with, with the choice of the topic is to proceed from the area. But if you decide on the area, try to do some work on. You have to. People say that you have to go with what is called the review of literature. What is the work that has already been done? So try to decide on the. If you are very passionate about the area of research, then you need to explore it further and further. Don't expect anyone, any guide or any expert to give you the list of books that you can go through. It never works out that way, right? You will get only 2 or 3 books maximum, and from the books, of course, you can get leads, right? So that's why you need to. There are people who say. See, when you ask researchers to come out with a proposal, sometimes they come out with a proposal in just 2-3 days. Sometimes, many a times, of course, if they know that you are a meticulous researcher, if they know that you are a meticulous supervisor, they take about 2-3 months and they will never come out with a proposal. And if you ask them, what are you doing? I'm still thinking, sir, I do not know what to write. So this is also a problem. This is also a problem. See, you have to come out with something very, very substantial, no doubt about that. You can take your own time. It has to be time bound, no doubt about that. But it should never be based on any ready-made research. So, in about 1 or 2 months' time or 3 months' time, based on the reading that you have done, it is not extensive reading, of course, it is some basic reading you have done on a particular topic. And based on that particular topic, if you try to come out with a write-up, with a proposal, and show it to your supervisor. If I were the supervisor, I would say, I would go through it and suggest certain directions. There are people who look up to the guide for direction straight away, which is absolutely wrong, which is not possible for a supervisor actually to give you direction straight away. If you let us know what you have done, if you let us know the proposal, we will be in a position to let you know from where it can proceed further. So we can let you know the direction. So the takeoff point, of course, must be from the candidate and not from the supervisor. And slowly, the research proposal will start evolving. It is not as though whatever you have said in the proposal has to be developed verbatim into a thesis. It's not possible at all. Right? So there are certain guidelines. You need to have some clarity about the choice of the topic, about the text you have chosen, and what is the insight that you bring into the text that you have chosen. That is precisely what I look for as a supervisor, research supervisor. So try to come out with your own info. And then before I open the session for question and answer, there are people who say, sir, can I come out with any inference right now? So this inference is not all that possible at the initial stage. It needs to modify. That's why the doctoral committee meeting, the DC meeting, or the 6-monthly report, they are not to be treated as meaningless rituals. This is what happens in the present research, whether it is humanities or science, it is all the same. Once in 6 months, what do? The progress report, they merely look for the model. And based on the model, they just try to fill up certain details. I went to this library, I went and referred to this book, right? And it is not based on any fact, in fact. It is merely for the sake of submission that they write the research as a progress reports. So it is absolutely wrong. It is not to blow my own trumpet. Almost all my candidates, or even the people who are associated with me, including Preeti ma'am, they know pretty well that our doctoral committee meeting happens very for a very long. Sometimes a doctoral committee meeting goes on for an hour and a half also. That's where we drill the candidate, right? So step by step, you need to work that evolution, that research proposal. Once you come out with a proposal, yeah, you need to start from there. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single concrete step. That's very important. It's not just a step, it's a concrete step. And with the light that you have, maybe you can proceed the next 5 steps. You can see merely up to 5 steps. And from there, if you hold on the light, you can see the next 5. That's how it should proceed. It's not as though you have the entire plan cut out for the entire journey. It is just not possible. If it happens that way, then it cannot be called a genuine research. It can only be called a duplicate research. Someone has already worked on it. Maybe that person has not published it, and you are trying to plagiarize it in a different sense. So this is how people take it. So please never proceed with a complete plan for the entire research work. It is not possible. But try to begin with something very concrete, and whatever you begin with, of course, as a concrete point, must undergo a change, and that can happen through doctoral committee meetings. And it's only during the doctoral committee meeting that each and every draft of yours, your chapter, everything has to be called into question. Everything has to be seriously discussed. That's why I tell most of the research scholars are here. Do not look upon your DC meeting. Do not look upon your 6-monthly assignment. See, our system is really good, right? People often blame the system. What can we do in this? You can do wonders in this system. I'll tell you, in India, if you go up to the north, the supervisors, of course, cannot choose the candidates. You have to write an entrance examination, and whoever clears the entrance examination are selected for the PhD course by the university, and they allot guides. That's what they do. Look at Madras University or any other university in Tamil Nadu or in the south. The supervisor can choose the candidates, and I do make use of this freedom to the fullest extent. And that's why I say the system is very good, and they have 6-monthly report, and they have the doctoral committee meeting, which has to be convened once in a year. So that's why the people who are on the doctoral committee, the candidate who has the doctoral committee has to take it very seriously. So these are all certain guidelines that I can provide you with. And what is the research statement? How do we prepare the research statement? All that, of course, through question and answer, I can provide. So with these observations, I would like to just stop here for a while and wait for you to put your questions to me. Thank you. It's already 2:52, right? So
Students, you can ask questions to the resource person.
yes.
Sir, though there is no proper prescribed format for the structure of a research proposal, what are the basic components that a research proposal must contain?
The basic things. Number one, see, I'll give you examples from the two proposals that have been sent to me, one by Shavita and one by Malini. Both of them have gone through that proposal. One is based on a pandemic one, and then see, usually the research proposal begins with a generalization, right? So that means if you try to, if you choose one particular text, right, the larger context of that particular text is what I mean by generalization, right? Recently, one person, of course, this person, Maveri, that New Zealand, Shabita, I think, right? She has chosen that. So she has come out with historical details of New Zealand itself. That's a larger context. So the first one, try to begin with a generalization. There is no doubt, of course, begin with a generalization. That is the larger context of the text, right? But that generalization should not run into more than 2 paragraphs, maximum, I'm saying. So make your research proposal should be precise. If it is to run into some 2 to 4 pages, right? 2 to 4 pages. The first component that you should have is the generalization, by which I mean the larger context. The larger context in which that particular text can be fixed, number one. The second one, the rationale for the choice of the text. Why have you chosen that particular text? And where does it fit in that larger context? Sometimes the text, of course, can adhere to the larger context. Sometimes the text you have chosen can deviate from that or can extend from that larger context. Can extend from the larger context. So you need to come out with the points of adherence to as well as deviation from the larger context. So this is the component. You need to put it in precise terms. So the first one is the larger context or generalization. The second one, of course, is the rationale for the text. And when you come out with the rationale, you are also able to say how well it goes with the general context and how well does it deviate from it. The second, and then if we can come out with the reason for the points of deviation that this text makes from the larger context, that is your inference, and that is your inference, which is in the form of assumption at the initial stage, which is only in the form of assumption. And I'll give you an example because I'm merely talking in abstract terms. I'll try to give you from my own thesis, right, which I did almost a decade ago. It is often based on, it's based on Girish Karnad's plays. So I did read almost all the plays of Girish Karnad, and I chose only 3 texts. Ayavadana, Nagamandala. I'm saying them because most of you here can relate to those texts. That's what I'm saying. Not merely because I chose them. So Nagamandala, Ayavadana, they are often prescribed. Sometimes the Fire and the Rain in some colleges is prescribed. So I chose these texts. And the larger context, of course, is Indian theatre. No doubt about that. Indian theatre. Post-independence, Indian, to be specific actually. Because if it is too large, it will be too unwieldy. Don't go in for Indian drama, the history of Indian drama. That's not necessary. So go in for the post-independence drama. And where does Girish Karnad belong, right? In that post-independence phase of Indian drama. And then I had already read certain concepts like meta theater, meta concept, meta drama, and all that. So I said, why can't I look upon these plays, because they are very much play conscious, audience conscious, So how do I? That's why I just went in for this thing, and I came up with. So there are certain direct parallels that I could draw from the concept of metadrama and from the plays of Girish Karnad, but they also differed from that concept. How? I went in for certain techniques that this playwright has used in the novel, and how will you be able to develop or infer the socio-political implication of the technique? See, people often look upon the technique as prescribed in Aristotle's Poetics, or as prescribed in some other text, poetics. If it is not poetics, if it is Western drama, it is poetics. If it is Indian drama, people often go in for Natya Shastra. Or if it is very modern, people go in for Brecht, Bertolt Brecht. So I went in for these techniques, and these techniques, of course, had something to do with the proscenium stagecraft, had something to do with Natya Shastra, and it also had something to do with the Brechtian technique. So I went in for, why should he go in for the mixture of these things? Right? Why? So I went in for the socio-political implication of the techniques. That's where it differs. So the third important point, I'm just giving this example. So I came to the conclusion that these plays that I have chosen are not only an example of metadrama, but also an improvisation upon it. And in what way can I call it an improvisation? Because the socio-political implication of technique used by the playwright is something that, so far as I knew that time, nobody had commented on. So you should be able to formulate your thesis statement based on that assumption, which can sometimes get altered. Sometimes you can, of course, see it totally applicable, of course, to the study that you make in the future. So that's why come out with a research statement, and then if possible, if you can come out with some tentative chapterization, you can come out. So these are the components. And if possible, if you are able to pinpoint the methodology that you are going to adopt, you can also say something about the methodology as well. Yeah. Anyone else? If you can, if you find it difficult to put.
Sir,
yeah.
Malini from QMC, sir.
Yes.
A very good afternoon, sir. I'm the one who chose pandemic fiction.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Sir, actually, I just wanted to know about one concept in this plagiarism, which is really not clear with me, sir.
Which one?
In regard to, that's what, in regard to concepts or ideas getting plagiarized and the two unintentionally. That is it is an unintentional one. Yet how can we avoid such unintentional ones since they are not caused intentionally? And is it possible for a scholar, sir, who's doing a study to go through all the materials put forth relevant to the topic, what other authors have researched regarding this?
Okay, so how do we avoid? Shall we put it this way here, Malini? How do we avoid plagiarism, which sometimes happens unintentionally? Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay, that's right. Okay. See, plagiarism. See, if we go by plagiarism, I think that needs to be highlighted. That needs to be discussed in some detail. Don't go by what MLA handbook says about plagiarism. Okay. See. The software that we have at the university level, they only check similarity checkup. They go in for what is called similarity checkup. Say plagiarism, if you try to merely use the words, merely lift the words that are used by the author, someone, of course. If you have merely used the words without any repetition, without any modification, without rephrasing, it is in fact plagiarism. That you cannot say, I was totally unaware of it. right? So that is plagiarism, blatant plagiarism. But you are talking about unintentional. Sometimes we may have thought of the idea, someone else would have thought of that idea as well. I'll give you one example that I myself, of course, came across while writing an article 3 years ago. This happened in the year 2018. There is a novel called Mornings in Jenin by Susan Abulbaha. It's a life writing. So I wanted to comment on the genre called autofiction, which is a subgenre of life writing. It is a subgenre of life writing. So I wanted to make certain about autofiction, right? So how can autofiction serve as history, right? Out of autofiction as history is the insight, of course, that I came out of merely from based on the inference that I made from the study of the novel. So I said autofiction as history, a study of Susan Abulbaha's Mornings in Jenin. I said. Then when I went through a book interpreting autobiographies, life writings, I came across an article where someone has mentioned it in abstract terms. Someone has mentioned it in abstract terms. So how do we avoid this unintentional? It is not plagiarism. Someone else has expressed a similar idea. So what I did was, based on the inference from the text, I came out with this idea, and then I said the same idea has been expressed by someone. You can respond to that actually. Right, so that's how you can avoid that unintentional. When I say it is, I don't think it can be called plagiarism, because whatever you have said is based on the inference from the text. That's why I said in the beginning, try to come out with your own inference from the text, with your own response to the theory from the text that you have chosen. If you do that, you will be in a position to differentiate it from others. And then when you write it also, that also matters. When you write it, you should be able to write it in such a way that it doesn't sound like the other person's writing.
Thank you, sir. And one more doubt, sir. I need to know the difference between secondary resource and tertiary sources.
Okay. See,
secondary and
the tertiary. See,
tertiary, sir. Yes.
Okay. See, based on the, I don't want to go by the MLA handbook thing. The secondary one, the direct secondary resource, if someone has written, you have chosen an author. If, for example, you made a mention of Albert Camus' Plague, someone has written on that. So, if someone has made a critical study of that novel, then you call it a secondary source. When you're going for the tertiary, see the tertiary, the very word tertiary, if you go through the dictionary, it's a third level. It may not be directly related, but it may be, of course, it will be very much related to the topic that you have chosen on a higher level. That's very important. So the tertiary source may not have one-to-one relationship or one-to-one correspondence to the text you have chosen. The tertiary source may have, you may have to infer it, of course. You may have to infer that relevance from the source, from the tertiary source, from the advanced source, which is not directly related to the work you have chosen. That's how you can differentiate a secondary source from a tertiary source.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, anyone else? And to give example, Malini, for the tertiary source, since we have time, I can give that example because there's no point in merely talking in abstract terms. I'll give you an example from the tertiary source that my own candidate, of course, took. She recently had her Viva 20 days ago. She worked on Amitav Ghosh trilogy, Ibis trilogy, right? And she came out with the topic called Ibis Cosmopolis. And she wanted to differentiate the classical cosmopolitanism from the vernacular or the subaltern cosmopolitanism. So what she did was, she went back to Immanuel Kant, Adam Smith. Okay, so they are not directly written on. I mean, obviously they are not related to Ibis Cosmopolis, nor are they directly related to even to the concept of cosmopolitanism. But what she has done is, whatever Immanuel Kant has said, or whatever and whatever Adam Smith has said as free trade, right? She tried to derive certain implication from there and connect it with what is called the cosmopolitanism. That's exact, and that is also based on her close reading of the Ibis trilogy. So that is a tertiary source, in fact. Immanuel Kant and Adam Smith's book served as a tertiary source for them because he took the inference from that book, from their works.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, anyone else?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, Umaya.
Yes, this is Uma Kasturi. So
Yeah.
this is not directly in relation to research proposals, but
Yes,
then
yes.
I wanted to ask you, as you know, I'm working on life narratives, and I
Yes.
wanted to know if it is okay for me to interview people who I think might have something to say about my research and add it as an annexure. Like, is it okay
Yes,
to do
yes,
things
yes.
like that?
You can do it in the appendix. You can bring it. You can put it in appendix part. It is possible. That is based on the interview that you have done with a person. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. You can do that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, sir. This is Dhruva here.
Yeah, certainly.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I just want to add something to which Jayadharani asked a bit earlier. So,
Yes.
will it be wrong if a researcher was to work towards a particular end, and would they need to mention the conclusion they're working towards in the proposal
If
itself?
you are working towards a conclusion, it is okay. But you are working with the conclusion, it is wrong. See, you're working towards a conclusion, but when you work towards a conclusion, I am very sorry, you won't be able to state the conclusion first. Maybe, this is what you are aiming at and all that you can say. You are working towards a conclusion, but that is not a problem. But when you work with the conclusion, that's a problem. That is always a problem.
Sir, because the research might end up going in a different direction after after the process. So what happens in that case?
Can I take that question?
Yes, ma'am.
See, I think he means a hypothesis. So you move from a hypothesis to a thesis.
Yeah.
So yes, you assume certain things, you can assume that the subaltern has gained a voice. Then question that through your research, and then you will find you can try to answer that question, and you probably will find that there's no yes or no. There are gray areas, right? So when you take a challenging intellectual question, your hypothesis and your thesis may not be a one-to-one match. your thesis might take a different direction from your
Direction.
hypothesis.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you,
But
sir.
that's the journey is what is important, Dhruv.
Yes. Yes.
Not the
See,
destination.
I always tell people, my dear research scholars are here. This is one, I would say, standard advice. Sometimes you may change from it, but the thing is, try to work on your core chapters first. Never try to proceed from introduction. It is not possible actually. If you try to proceed from introduction, I'm going to write the first chapter, second chapter. No, I always say in literature, 90% of the thesis, of course, I tell people, try to work on your core chapters. And based on whatever you have read in the, you have written in the core chapters, you may have to adjust your, you will have to, of course, alter your introduction. So that introduction virtually has emanated from those core chapters. And it is for the sake of clarity and convenience that we put them as introductory chapters in the thesis when we put it actually, when we write it. So it's better to proceed from core chapters more often than not. It may differ in one or two cases.
And
I'll give you
regarding
one more example. Yeah.
sorry, it's okay.
If you have anything to say, yeah. I just wanted to give one example. One research, he didn't work under me, but he came to me for discussion. See, he took up field work. Some people, of course, take up field work also. Based on eco-criticism, he took up field work and he made a study of this Urlams, right? So he collected their songs and came out with the analysis. And he said, sir, I'm able to see the perfect parallel between this and Henry Lefebvre, that space theorist. Whatever he has said, I'm able to see the parallel, the direct parallel, of course, even in the songs. And based on that, I have come out with the inference. Then I put one question to him. Do you think that the parallel between the theory, right, that you have applied and the songs that you have collected from Urla community is merely accidental? What do you think is the reason for the direct parallel? How are you able to see the direct parallel between Lefebvre's space theory and the songs that you have collected from the Urla community? Are you able to, will you be able to answer that question if you were put that question in the interview by the panelist? How would you answer that question? He thought for a while and he said, sir, I have no answer. Then I gave him one answer. Look here, Lefebvre is basically, he is from France and he has come out with, say, he's basically a European. And what you have said, of course, you have collected songs and you have talked about the impact that this tourism has had on the Urla community and all that. Don't you think that there is a reason for this direct parallel? Because this space theory, whatever he developed, is based on the impact of the notion of nation. The nation as an outer domain, of course, in its material domain, to use Partha Chatterjee's expression, is a Eurocentric concept, right? And the same Eurocentric concept of nation has been applied here, has been practiced here, even in India. And when you try to study the impact of all this state policy on the Irula community, don't you think that the same thing, of course, is bound to happen? So this is a kind of an inference that you can make actually as a researcher, right? So you can't say that the direct parallel is merely accidental or is arbitrary. It is not without reason. That reason has to be inferred. And the inference has to be validated, of course, with evidence. That's why I say that Eurocentric concept of nation, the state, of course, more often than not implements the same policy here. And in India also, as far as the outer domain of the nation is concerned, we follow the European model. And no wonder, of course, you see the parallel. Yeah. Any more questions?
I think
Yeah.
we
It is
can
time, I think.
wrap up. It's past 3:15.
Been going on since 9:30. It's a marathon
Yes.
session. I think it's already 3:18. So I thank.
And I think if we make it too long, research won't be won't be exciting.
I just have one question. One last question. Could I make an interview with the author of the works under study, one of the essays in the thesis?
Pardon?
Could I make interview with the author of the books under study, one of the essays in the thesis?
One of the chapters in the thesis?
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that, but the problem is you should be able to justify that. You should be able to justify it, how relevant it is, because it should form the main argument of your thesis. It should become a part of the main argument of your thesis. If it has something to do with that, you can very well do it. In fact.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But if you do it merely as an addition, I don't think it can be accepted.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think the question sessions are over now, the interactions.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the questions raised here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shivaraman, sir, for enlightening our research scholars with practical and helpful suggestions to pursue proper research. Thank you for an outstanding session, sir. Thank you so much. We next move on to the vote of thanks, the conclusion of today's program. And we have with us Dr. Samuel Rufus, Associate Professor of English, Madras Christian College. Sir started his career as lecturer with the American College, Madurai, and later he joined Madras Christian College as assistant professor in the year 2003. His areas of interest are post-colonial studies, bioregional studies, and literary theory. He was the recipient of the University Gold Medal in MA English and winner of the President Venkatraman Gold Medal for Academic Excellence at Bharathidasan University in 2002 and received the honor from His Excellency, the Governor of Tamil Nadu, Shri P.S. Ramamohan Rao. He was also the winner of the Tamil Nadu Government Merit Scholarship for Excellence in Academics for PG students at Bharathidasan University in 2001. Sir has been the resource person and chairperson for 150 academic programs. He has published 9 books. He has 15 publications in journals and has chapters in books. He has presented papers in 50 national and international conferences. He is a member of PhD doctoral committee in various universities across Tamil Nadu and Kerala. He is also the member of Board of Examiners in various city colleges and in deemed universities in Tamil Nadu. I now invite Dr. Samuel Rufus, Associate Professor of English, Madras Christian College, a charismatic academician and a gifted orator, to propose the vote of thanks.
Vinita, I received a message that Sir's in a doctoral committee, but I wanted you to go ahead with his profile
Yes.
because I wanted it to inspire our young researchers.
Yes. Ma'am, would you like to do the vote of thanks?
Yes, I will do the vote of thanks. So, my dear friends who are present here in this workshop, I think this is one of the most fulfilling days of my career, and for us as a team, for me, for Dr. Sivaraman, Dr. Anwar, and Dr. Usha Alagappan, Anuja, and even the heads of the department, Dr. Bashir Ahmed, Professor William John Bosco, Dr. Mekhala Rajan. For all of us, it has been a time of fulfillment and it's been a very fulfilling experience. And I'm so grateful to Dr. Samuel Rufus for being a part of all our endeavors, and the same applies to our neighbors, our very good neighbors from Presidency. Dr. Sivaraman and Dr. Ramakrishnan, and now Dr. John Bosco also has lent us a helping hand. And new friends, new college. They are our new friends. So I'm very, very excited about the journey we've made together today and the prospects it has for further growth and development of our respective departments and our students. So with a heart full of thanks and gratitude for all that I and we and my college have received today, I would like to bid adieu, and I hope to see all the young people who have participated in this program become leading researchers and make contribution. Because as Anuja was saying, she said and she indicated that we leave our thoughts somewhere in some book, and posterity alone will tell how much we have contributed. So that's the thing about research. There is no immediate result. It's just that we leave our footprints on the sands of time, sorry to use a cliche, and we leave something for posterity through our work. And that is the whole idea of conducting this workshop on research and academic writing, because it is so sacrosanct. Research is so sacrosanct that we cannot trifle with it. We cannot give it the kind of haphazard or short treatment or use shortcuts, because it's totally violating the spirit of research. So keeping that in mind, I just hope we have reinforced all that research is all about. And we have also been part of nurturing your dreams and your quest and all your research questions. So I'm sure each of us has a legacy to leave behind through the research we do, and best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. As Rumi says, as you start to walk on the way appears. It's your road and yours alone. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you. So all the very best, dear research scholars. Thank you. Let us conclude the session with the national anthem. Ma'am, could you make me the co-host so that I can share the video?
Yes.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I just want to thank Vinita for being such an excellent host and anchoring this program. Thank you, Vinita.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, yeah, I'll